I rewatched Clerks last night with two of my friends from work who are brothers, and one of them had never seen it. We got together after work last night to watch a movie, and I had just finished the animated series, just finished Clerks 3, if you've kept up with this channel and you saw me talk about those. But yeah, he had never seen it. I was like, what? We got to watch this because it's very relatable for what we do for a living, working at a shop and just serving hemp products and stuff like that. I had also not seen it in like a decade. His brother had never hadn't seen it in a very long time, so I really wanted to rewatch it just to and that's the best part about not watching movies too much or not rewatching them too much is when years go by, suddenly it's like watching it for the first time again. Because I besides a couple of things, I didn't remember most of the scenes, and so I don't remember that. I don't remember that funeral part where they go in and then 5 minutes later are leaving after Randall makes the casket fall over. You just hear it off screen. It's very funny, very quick. This movie is such a lovely introduction to everything else that Kevin Smith made afterwards, and you can see how much he already had a voice, or he already had a lot of things that he wanted to say, and had such a it's very admirable to see a writer director have such a good grasp on what they want to make and what they want to do with what their film is. And that's what I love about Clerks, is that it's such a, the infancy of Kevin Smith's work is so lovely because of how much he's done, how much he's really gotten so ambitious just in general with his career, but it's also like he has always stayed in the roots of just what he wants to make. And I can definitely admire that, even though I think films like Yoga Hosers and the Jay and Silent Bob reboot are practically unwatchable. I don't think that takes away from, not that I've seen Yoga Hosers and I don't plan to, but I don't think that those movies take away from all the great films that he's given us as well. But this movie is so real, as far as if you've worked any sort of public service job. I've served tables, I've worked retail, I've worked any most generic jobs that you can think of besides maybe food delivery or, something in an office cubicle. Basically all the jobs I've had are what people do when they're like fresh out of high school and don't actually stay at those jobs. But that's a great theme. You could see how much that theme of this movie influenced something like Waiting, and this movie feels like it was influenced by movies like the movie Slacker by Richard Linklater. That low budget feel of this it works so well, and that amateur nature of it is really nice. I mean, no one had ever worked on a movie ever, and that's my favorite thing about independent films of a certain time is at least too. It's like that sounds so common now. I mean, everybody makes everything like now on their own. Like I do everything on my own. Everybody does everything, and we're literally living in a peak. We're living in the peak of everyone doing things as a one man team. And obviously, that what we've seen, the proof is in the pudding. Things suck when people are making everything by themselves, and it's garbage. When everything on the internet is garbage because it's people just setting up a camera and doing everything alone, and it's just sad. Even this movie, it's like a group of people made this. People were working on this, even though it was a very small film at the time. All I mean with that is with this is that at a certain time, like these very self-made things, at a time where like movies were peaking in a lot of ways in the 90s, there were still these kind of sleeper hit movies as well, these cult following types of films. And Kevin Smith is just there's a reason people really hold on to this one. People hold on to this one so much because of how it's also kind of, slice of life things that was obviously something that had been done in plays and something that's been done in storytelling. It was done for many years before this, but this movie really captures the monotony and the how grim and bleak working, how empty these types of jobs can feel, and how bored to death you can feel at them, and how you just feel like you're literally wasting time doing nothing at these types of jobs. I love what he said in Clerks 3 about that too, because Clerks 3 is literally just like an entire homage to Clerks 1, and now I almost want to rewatch it to see all those same references and like all the connections between the two. But what Kevin Smith says in Clerks 3 is how, there's a reason. The reason it's shot in black and white is so that it represents like the surveillance camera of the store, and just all these, as well as like what I just said, the lifelessness of these types of jobs. And I really love the artistry in that, or that, like what he was doing, like all that was intentional, and everything in this is very has a lot of purpose in what he was trying to do, despite it just really being so I don't want to say so thrown together, but it does feel like it's just people hanging out making a movie, just some young people fresh out of college or high school or whatever, like making something. And there's a lot of really lovely stories behind this movie as well, or a lot of interesting behind the scenes facts. The reason that he had to keep the shutters closed the entire film is so that he was able to film at night and make it seem like, oh yeah, there's like, so that they could basically, he could only film there after the store closed when he was making it, basically. So the store would close at 10, and he had to start filming from like 10 to 4. They would try to shoot all of this. So for a lot of the daytime scenes to make sense, so that it wasn't black like outside the entire time. It's my alarm going off. Just so that it wasn't like black the entire time. And obviously night, because he didn't want to run into any continuity issues with the day, because it's just 24 hours basically. It's an entire day in the store with Dante and Randall. He didn't want to worry about the continuity aspects of that, so he literally just wrote it into the script that the shutters were not able to be opened, and did a lot of very clever things like that in order to make sense of, in order to make it work. You can really see how much he went out of his way to make sure that he was able to make this movie and make it all like cohesive. Every bit of it is, even though it's his first, his first time making a movie, he was really meticulous. You could tell how meticulous he was about all those things, just because he was taking it seriously. That's what I really love about this movie, is regardless of all of the like amateur nature of it, and that how obvious that is, you can feel that Kevin Smith was trying very hard to make something something that's his own, and something entertaining, and something that's genuinely funny in a lot of ways still, because of the over the top nature of some of the moments, or just how goofy it can be in a lot of ways, how crazy it gets. And that's what I really love, especially at the end. There's some like really crazy moments that happen. Something, if you're a Kevin Smith fan and you haven't seen this clip of him, I forget which YouTube channel it's on. It's one of those like channels like Variety or Rolling Stone or something like that, where Kevin Smith's talking about being reasonably unreasonable. And what I really loved about this video, and what I took away from it, or the gist that I got of what he was saying. I apologize if I'm butchering this, but what I got from what he was saying in that video is that you have to be, to some extent, you kind of have to be unrealistic, or you can't think about logistics too much when it comes to making the thing that you want to make, because the act of making something or taking on such an ambitious project in and of itself is a very unrealistic or a challenging thing to I'm fucking losing my train of thought. This is why I'm not really a morning person. It's like fucking 10 a.m. right now, and I'm so sorry. I'm like, my brain is. I don't do these as often, by the way, too. So I'm feeling like I'm slacking on this and not keeping up with it. But what was I trying to say? Now I completely lost my fucking train of thought. Oh, God, these uncut videos are so amateur. See, this is very amateur, but that's the interesting nature of YouTube sometimes. Sometimes. Again, now I'm like all over and not making my point. Oh, yeah, the video that he was saying. Being reasonably unreasonable. You have to be unreasonable with like having that stubbornness to do what you want to do, and to try to achieve something that seems like an impossible feat at first glance, or seems like something that's too daunting. When it comes to completing things that are very daunting or very you have to have a little like that bit of audacity. You have to have that bit of yeah, like purely just like a he said it obviously. So he's a much smarter man than I am, and said it way better than I am right now. But you have to be unreasonable with the things that you want to do in order to get them done. That's all that I took away from it, and I relate to that very much in a lot of ways when it comes to making music or just doing projects that you want to do. Like if you want to make a movie, just go and make a movie. Don't think about like the how much is against you. That's what I have to really make a point with what I got from this video that I'm talking about. I hate talking. I don't know why I do this. I do this because it's hard for me and because I hate like having to explain my thoughts. And even though I love movies so much, this is I'm so terrible at this. Which is why I like doing it too. But yeah, being unreasonable with your with having that, having that audacious approach is very important when it comes to getting things done. Basically, if people don't go out of their way to do these things and push through that brick wall, that initial like brick wall of it, if you don't push through that, then nothing ever gets done. This is what I take away from that, and what I've been thinking about a lot lately with myself and the things that I want to do is that I don't want to like sit and wait. Like I want to make it before I die. I want to make a movie. I want to make something, like that, or try, because that would be great. But this movie inspires most. This movie is the like biggest inspiration for a lot of people that just want to make a movie on a budget. It's like what comes to mind is literally like this, Slacker, El Mariachi, Kids. A lot of flicks where they just didn't have anything at their disposal and made something anyway is so admirable. If you can make it entertaining, especially if you can make it interesting, just an interesting piece of art like that, it's a very hard thing to do. A lot of people you can't make you can't be James Cameron and make a movie with this budget. You just can't. Like, he needs money to make the movies he wants to make. So does Spielberg. So does Martin Scorsese. All these like the greatest directors and shit all need financial backing to make what they want to make. These guys, still need the money. They still like, you still need resources and all sorts of, you need to have access to, like, he needed the access to the film and the camera. You still need all that stuff. However, if you don't need as much of it or as many people or as much money, and you can still make something decent, it's very, it's really, It really shows how your talent can take you a lot. Can take you very far. Is what I mean with this. Like his talent as a writer, Kevin Smith, is just so good at what I really hope to try to do as a potential writer director myself is follow in line as well with that stream of consciousness. It feels like his writing just kind of pours out of him, and he doesn't really think about too much of it. Like he doesn't like second guess it, which is it's very important. Like it's very impulsive, a lot of his writing, and I love that because I write songs the same way. I'm a very impulsive writer myself, so it's really great to see how well that works in this movie and how just funny a lot of the moments are. And I love the like amateur acting in this. I think Brian O'Halloran and all these guys definitely like came into their own eventually, but you can tell how they had like never acted before and that they weren't necessarily like, like super experienced or totally professional by any means. There's one scene with Dante like reading a magazine or reading the newspaper or something, and Randall to his left. And this is what I love. I really love about rewatching movies or watching movies as I get older and as I'm more experienced myself, is I notice these things a lot more than when I was younger. But there's one scene where Dante and Randall are talking, and you could tell that they were just trying to make sure that they had their lines memorized and made sure that they were trying not to fuck up the scene. Because at one point Brian O'Halloran's like talking, and he's just like, the guy, like he like pauses for a moment, and it's a very funny clearly they were like doing a scene and acting and reading the line or thinking of the lines in their head. But that stuff is so charming in a lot of ways, or that there's nothing wrong with that. Like, oh, I saw through the movie for a second, or I saw through it, broke the like, that immersion breaking, or the reality of the thing breaking, or feeling like you're watching a movie isn't always a bad thing. With something like this, especially where it's It's just a group of young people making something. It's really great to see that. I think that's what makes that stuff. It's so specific, it's such a specific like niche kind of feeling that you don't really get in a lot of movies, because most directors would never want to like leave that in or want to. But when they were when it comes down to it, that was the best take that they had probably. And film is limited. You don't have once especially when it comes to a budget, whatever budget they had for this movie. I doubt that they were able to just like waste film kind of thing. So they had to go with whatever they had and just keep it moving, and keep make sure that they finished it. Thank God he just finished it, because this easily could have been one of those movies where they worked on it for months and months and it never got finished, and even when it was finished, it wasn't really as cohesive as it actually is. It had such a risk of that, is what I mean. There was such a big risk of this entire thing like completely falling apart, or again, in that being reasonably unreasonable video that he talks about. He just talks about a lot of the details of like how not chaotic it was, but like how from what I remember, he was talking about how hard, just how challenging it was, and how much it was like very very much like he was stretching himself thin trying to make this and trying to work at the quick stuff that he literally just shot. Like I said earlier, he just shot that in the quick stuff that he was working at the time. And just brought something personal to it. It's very inspirational too. This movie is the epitome of write what you know. And that's like the oldest advice that most writers will give, or most people say that, and that's very true. If I was to write something, it would 100% be about like a musician, or about someone, trying to be an actor, or something that I'm very familiar with and have my own personal experiences with in that way. Clerks 1 is, God damn it, I'm kind of I relate to this stretching thin, the feeling that he must have had at the time. I feel like I'm taking some days off for my birthday on St. Paddy's Day soon, but I'm working on an album right now myself, and I feel like I'm literally working like 6 days a week at 2 different jobs. And today, like, I literally have to go and teach at Guitar Center, and then afterwards go to the studio for maybe, 5 or 6 hours. Then it's just like suddenly a 10-hour day, and I'm personally like right now like definitely feeling that I'm either working on to make money, or I'm working on something creative. And maybe that's why I like making these videos or talking about movies for a second. Is it's like just something to kind of break away from all that, and something that I can it's nice taking a moment to just stop and do this is all, and gives me movies lately have been giving me a reason to just kind of like pause everything else and just enjoy a story, or it helps me relax and just kind of decompress from all of this shit that I've been doing. And I love it. I love being busy. I was a gigging musician, worked literally maybe once or twice a week for many years, and maybe like 2 to 4 or 5 times a week at most. Maybe I was working that many gigs, but 4 or 5 gigs could be within like 2 days. So I was so used to basically either working my ass off for a couple of days straight, or having like 4 or 5 days off. So now that I'm like kind of doing something every day and just feeling that feeling the productivity of that, or feeling how much activity in general that is, it's crazy. This is the reason why a lot of people don't do this stuff, though, or why they're not reasonably unreasonable, or why they don't even want to like attempt this stuff, because most people like just don't want to do shit outside of their jobs. But the people that do want to make something, or do want to make things happen, they make it happen no matter what. Kevin Smith wanted to make this happen no matter what, and he did. I want to make music, and I will always forever like record and write and record and just make whatever I want for the rest of my life, because that's what I enjoy doing. I don't care if I'm working 40 hours a week, 50 or 60 hours a week. I'll find some time within all of that to make something, because that's the difference with people that really, really love this stuff and want to, and are absolutely obsessed with it and really want to surround themselves with, versus, just people that just want to like survive and enjoy life, have enough money to be able to eat and live and just get by, and that's fine and all. That's just not what everybody wants to do. You know, I am wanting to do all the things that I want to do in my life before I get older and can't, you know, before I physically get too tired to. I already feel that. I'm turning 33 next week, literally in 6 days, 5 days. How many days? However many days. The 17th, right? Yeah, 6 days. It's March 11th, 2026. I'm going to be 33 on March 17th, 2026. And I still feel like I have a lot of youth in me. I mean, I've got like 5.5 hours of sleep, and I'm up, I'm doing this, I got to go to work, and then I'm doing shit for the next like 12 to 14 hours from this point on. And I can do it. I feel young enough to be able to do this stuff still, but I'm still like, once you hit 30, it's not a big deal. Like, you're not suddenly an old man, but you just feel your like physical body changing. It's not like it gets worse or anything like that. I just feel differently than I did 10 years ago. And that just awareness of that, the awareness of how old I've gotten, but how much older I am suddenly. I mean, I still feel like 25. I was only like 23 to 25 years old, as far as like I don't feel like much has changed. That, like, I haven't felt such a drastic change, but in another decade, obviously 43 is completely different than 23. So, you know, as you get older, you just realize like how much time is just going, and how, like, I feel how much faster time is moving lately. And that's why I want to do things. That's why I'm watching a lot of movies right now. I'm looking at all of this as homework, or looking at all of this as just, you know, absorbing as much as I can from other filmmakers that I really love and appreciate. And Kevin Smith is definitely he's like a top 10 for me. So as far as like a top 10 inspiration, somebody that I want to do something similar to what he does. I want to, like, realistically, if I were to make movies, like anybody in Hollywood, especially comedy, not even Hollywood, just anybody in general in the industry at this point, if I was to make comedies, realistically, I would make movies very similar to Kevin Smith, or do my own version of like that mixed with, I don't know, Seinfeld, Sunny type of thing. These are things that I just really love, or I feel very, like, I resonate the most with, and take a significant amount of inspiration from. So thank you so much for your film, Kevin. I fucking love this, and I'm so impressed with how, I'll forever be impressed with how genuinely funny and entertaining this is, with having just nothing at their disposal. So Clerks 1 is definitely worth checking out. Clerks 2 is really fantastic as well. I'm excited to, my buddy who had never seen this has never seen Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, so I will be doing a review of that very soon. And it's like one of my favorite movies of all time. It's very funny. So I can't wait to watch that. Anyway, stay safe, everybody. And if you want to wish me a happy birthday on the 17th, go for it. If not, that's okay. I'll just cry in my bed until I pass out.